Real freedom begins when your life no longer needs an audience. There is a mistake people make when they start making more money, and it looks like success. That is why it is so dangerous. It does not look like a mistake at first. It looks like progress. A better car, a better apartment, better clothes, better restaurants, better vacations, better photos, better stories to tell, better proof that life is finally moving. And after years of feeling behind, that proof can feel addictive. Because sometimes people are not just buying comfort. They are buying evidence. Evidence that they are not where they used to be. Evidence that the people who ignored them were wrong. Evidence that the person who left them would be surprised now. Evidence that the family members who doubted them should look again. Evidence that they are no longer small. And that is where the trap begins. Because money used as evidence does not build freedom. It builds a performance. And performances are expensive to maintain. This is the part most people do not want to hear. The problem is not always that they do not earn enough. Sometimes the problem is that their life has become too expensive to prove a point. They are not paying for a lifestyle. They are paying for an audience. They are paying for reactions. They are paying for people to notice. They are paying for that small moment when someone says, "You're doing well." And for a few seconds it feels worth it. But then the payment remains. The monthly bill remains. The debt remains. The pressure remains. The new standard remains. And the person is left with a life that looks better from the outside, but feels heavier from the inside. That is the hidden danger of visible success. It can make you look free while making you less free. It can make you look powerful while increasing your dependence. It can make you look rich while reducing your options. And once you understand this, you start seeing money differently. You stop asking only, "Can I afford this?" That question is too small. A lot of people can afford things that slowly trap them. They can afford payments. They can afford upgrades. They can afford nicer symbols. They can afford more expensive habits. But the real question is not, "Can I afford it?" The real question is, what does this make me responsible for? Because every purchase gives you something, but it also takes something. It takes money. It takes flexibility. It takes future options. It takes breathing room. It takes your ability to wait. It takes your ability to say no. And if you do not know what something takes from you, you do not know what it really costs. That is the difference between price and burden. The price is what you pay once. The burden is what your life has to carry after. And many people are not broke because of one dramatic financial disaster. They are broke because they slowly built a life with too much burden. A little more here, a little more there. A subscription, a payment, a bigger place, a better car, a nicer wardrobe, more expensive weekends. A new standard for what normal feels like. Nothing seems extreme by itself, but together it becomes a life that needs too much money just to continue. That is lifestyle inflation, but said in a more human way. It is what happens when your life eats every raise before your future can use it. You earn more, but your freedom does not grow. Your bills grow. Your expectations grow. Your identity grows more expensive. And suddenly, you are not working for peace. You are working to maintain the version of yourself that other people now expect. That version may look successful, but it is still a cage. Just a better-looking cage. This is why earning more money does not automatically make you freer. More income only amplifies the system you already have. If you have discipline, more money accelerates it. If you have patience, more money rewards it. If you have clear priorities, more money gives them power. But if you have insecurity, more money makes it more expensive. If you have comparison, more money makes it louder. If you need approval, more money gives that approval a budget. And that is brutal, because many people spend years waiting for more money, believing that more money will finally fix the feeling. The feeling of being behind, the feeling of being underestimated, the feeling of not being enough. The feeling of needing to prove something. But money does not automatically heal that feeling. Sometimes it only gives it a credit card. And once that happens, you can make more than you ever made and still feel trapped. Because the real issue was never just income. It was who your money was trying to impress. There is a version of success that is built for display. It needs witnesses. It needs proof. It needs comparison. It needs someone to notice. It wants the life that makes people say, "Wow." And there is another version of success that is quieter. It does not always photograph well. It does not always create envy. It does not always look dramatic, but it gives you something better. Space, time, options, calm. The ability to breathe. The ability to make decisions without panic. the ability to say no. And for most people, that is what they actually want. They do not really want luxury first. They want distance from desperation. They want a bad month to not destroy them. They want an emergency to not humiliate them. They want a job to not own their entire identity. They want to stop smiling in rooms where they feel trapped. They want to stop saying yes because they cannot afford to say no. That is freedom, not the image of freedom. Real freedom. But real freedom is often invisible. That is why people sacrifice it so easily. A new phone is visible. An emergency fund is not. A luxury dinner is visible. Low debt is not. A vacation is visible. Liquidity is not. A bigger place is visible. Financial breathing room is not. A branded life is visible. A peaceful life is not always visible. And because human beings are social creatures, we often choose the visible thing. Not because we are stupid, because visibility feels like proof. It tells the world, I am becoming someone. But here's the problem. If you need the world to confirm that you are becoming someone, the world can also take that feeling away. One person with more money can make you feel behind again. One friend with a better car can make your car feel small. One coworker with a bigger house can make your home feel insufficient. One person's vacation can make your discipline feel boring. One photo can make your life feel delayed. That is the trap of status. It has no finish line. You can climb one level and immediately discover another level above you. You can win one comparison and lose the next. You can impress one group and feel invisible in another. And if your peace depends on winning that game, you will never have peace. Because there is always another room where you are not the richest person. Always another circle where your symbols look ordinary. Always another standard that makes your life feel smaller. That is why status is such a dangerous financial drug. It gives a quick emotional reward, but it creates long-term dependence. It makes you want to upgrade not because your life requires it, but because your identity requires it. And when your identity requires expensive maintenance, your money is no longer fully yours. It belongs to the image. It belongs to the performance. It belongs to the people you are trying to convince. Maybe they are not even in your life anymore. Maybe they are ghosts. A parent who made you feel small. An ex who made you feel replaceable. A friend group that made you feel behind. A workplace that made you feel invisible. A past version of yourself that promised, one day they'll see. And now, years later, you may be spending money to win arguments that ended a long time ago. That is one of the quietest ways people lose their future. They finance a performance for an audience that is not even paying attention. This is where the real work begins. Because personal finance is not only about numbers. It is about identity. It is about fear. It is about pride. It is about comparison. It is about the story you are trying to tell with your life. And if that story depends on being seen as successful, you are vulnerable. You may earn more. You may buy more. You may look better. But you are still being controlled. Controlled by reactions. Controlled by comparison. Controlled by the fear of looking ordinary. And that fear is expensive. The fear of looking ordinary makes people buy things too soon. It makes them upgrade before they are stable. It makes them commit to payments they do not need. It makes them turn temporary income into permanent expenses. It makes them confuse movement with progress. It makes them believe that if life does not look better, it is not getting better. But some of the most important progress in life does not look like anything. It looks like staying calm. It looks like not reacting. It looks like not buying. It looks like waiting. It looks like keeping your lifestyle stable while your income grows. It looks like learning skills no one applauds yet. It looks like investing quietly. It looks like building liquidity. It looks like lowering debt. It looks like becoming harder to break. That phrase matters. The goal is not to look expensive. The goal is to become hard to break. Hard to break financially. Hard to break emotionally. Hard to break when something goes wrong. Hard to break when someone pressures you. Hard to break when the market falls. Hard to break when work becomes unstable. Hard to break when life does what life always does. Because life will test you, not every month, not every year, but eventually. There will be unexpected expenses. There will be health issues. There will be changes at work. There will be people who need help. There will be opportunities that require cash. There will be moments where patience is worth more than excitement. And in those moments, the visible life does not always help you. The impressive life does not always protect you. The expensive image does not always save you. What saves you is margin. Margin is one of the most underrated forms of wealth. Margin means your life is not pressed against the edge. It means one problem does not become a collapse. It means you can absorb a shock. It means you can think before reacting. It means you can wait for a better option. It means you can negotiate. It means you are not making decisions with a knife at your throat. That is wealth. But margin does not look impressive. You cannot easily post margin. You cannot show people, look at this beautiful amount of financial space I did not destroy. Nobody claps because you avoided a stupid debt. Nobody admires the vacation you did not take. Nobody likes the photo of the car you did not upgrade. Nobody says, amazing discipline, you kept your fixed costs low. And that is exactly why margin is so powerful. It belongs to you, not to the audience, not to the image, not to the people watching. It belongs to your future. This is where the common idea of success becomes dangerous. People are taught to think success should be visible. If you are doing better, it should show. If you are making more money, your life should look more expensive. If you are advancing, people should notice. And if nothing changes on the outside, they assume nothing is happening. But the opposite is often true. When someone is building real freedom, the outside may change very slowly. Same home for a while, same car for a while, same habits for a while, same simple routines, same quiet discipline. And from the outside, it may look like nothing is happening. But underneath, everything is changing. Debt is falling. Savings are growing. Investments are compounding. Skills are improving. Options are increasing. Fear is decreasing. Dependence is shrinking. The person is becoming less fragile. That is not glamorous, but it is powerful. And this is the part most people cannot tolerate. They cannot tolerate looking the same while becoming stronger. They need evidence. They need the outside to catch up to the inside immediately. So they interrupt the process. They buy proof. They say, I deserve it. They say, I work hard. They say, I can afford it. They say, life is short. And maybe all of that is true, but it can still be a bad decision. Because a true statement can be used to justify a weak choice. Yes, you work hard. Yes, life is short. Yes, you deserve good things. But you also deserve freedom. You deserve calm. You deserve not to be trapped by your own upgrades. You deserve a future that is not constantly paying for old emotions. You deserve a life that does not collapse if applause disappears. So the question is not, do I deserve this? The question is, does this support the life I actually want? That question changes everything. Because some purchases support the life you want. A better mattress can support your health. A safer home can support your peace. Good food can support your body. A course can support your earning power. A tool can support your work. A meaningful trip can support your memory, your relationships, your inner life. Money is not the enemy. Spending is not the enemy. Enjoyment is not the enemy. The enemy is unconscious spending driven by a need to be seen. The enemy is letting every emotion access your money. Boredom, comparison, anger, loneliness, revenge, insecurity, exhaustion, the need to prove that you are not behind. If every emotion can spend your money, you will never build freedom. Because emotions do not care about compound interest. They do not care about emergency funds. They do not care about future options. They want relief now. They want proof now. They want recognition now. And modern life is designed to sell you that relief instantly. One click, one payment, one upgrade, one delivery, one trip, one post, one story, one small hit of identity. But freedom is built in the delay, in the pause, in the moment when you can buy, but you do not. In the moment when you want to prove something, but you choose not to. In the moment when you feel behind, but you do not sabotage your plan to feel visible. That pause is not weakness. That pause is power. Because anyone can spend under pressure. Not everyone can stay aligned under pressure. This is why patience is a financial advantage. Not just a virtue, an advantage. Patience lets you avoid bad deals. Patience lets you wait for better opportunities. Patience lets investments work. Patience lets skills mature. Patience lets you separate desire from impulse. Patience lets you watch trends without becoming their victim. Patience lets you stop confusing urgency with importance. And most of all, patience lets you grow without needing constant proof that you are growing. That may be one of the most valuable skills in the modern world. To keep building when nobody is clapping. To keep improving when nobody sees it. To keep your lifestyle stable when your income rises. To keep your ego out of your budget. To keep your future protected when your present wants applause. Because the world rewards visible moves, but life rewards durable ones. Visible moves create attention. Durable moves create freedom. And if you want freedom, you have to become comfortable with being misunderstood for a while. People may not understand why you do not upgrade, why you do not show more, why you do not spend like you could, why you are still driving the same car, why you are still living simply, why you are not constantly proving your progress. And that is fine. You do not have to explain a strategy to people who only understand symbols. That sentence is important. You do not have to explain a strategy to people who only understand symbols. Some people only believe progress when it has a logo, when it has a receipt, when it has a location tag, when it looks like a lifestyle. But real progress does not always announce itself. Sometimes real progress looks like restraint. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like saying no. Sometimes it looks like choosing boring consistency over exciting evidence. And that brings us to a different kind of wealth. Invisible capital. Most people think capital is only money. Money in the bank. Money invested. Property. Business ownership. Assets. And yes, those things matter. But invisible capital matters too. Your skills, your health, your reputation, your network, your ability to learn, your ability to negotiate, your ability to stay calm, your ability to wait, your ability to produce value, your ability to live below your means without feeling humiliated, your ability to say no without guilt. These things do not always show up on a statement, but they shape your life. A person with invisible capital can move differently. They can recover faster. They can take opportunities others cannot take. They can leave bad situations earlier. They can negotiate from strength. They can build without panic. They can survive a bad season without destroying everything. And sometimes, this invisible capital is what creates visible wealth later. The skill no one saw becomes income. The discipline no one saw becomes liquidity. The patience no one saw becomes opportunity. The low debt no one admired becomes freedom. The quiet years no one respected become the reason you can choose. That is why you cannot judge your progress only by what other people can see. Other people see the surface. You have to live the structure. And structure matters more. A beautiful surface with weak structure is fragile. A simple surface with strong structure can last. This is true in money. It is true in business. It is true in relationships. It is true in life. The structure carries the weight, not the decoration. And many people decorate a life that has no structure. They make it look better before making it stronger. That is backwards. Make your life stronger first. Then make it prettier if you want. But do not confuse the two. Do not confuse a better-looking life with a better-built life. A better-built life has lower unnecessary pressure. It has breathing room. It has financial buffers. It has fewer decisions driven by panic. It has fewer purchases driven by shame. It has more choices. It has more honesty. It has more ownership. And ownership is the key word. Because the goal is not to hide. The goal is not to pretend you have nothing. The goal is not to reject pleasure. The goal is to own yourself. To own your decisions, to own your pace, to own your priorities, to stop letting an invisible audience vote on your life. A person who hides may still be controlled by fear. A person who performs is controlled by attention. But a person who owns themselves chooses what to show and what to protect. They can enjoy without needing applause. They can buy without needing validation. They can succeed without turning success into theater. They can grow without announcing every step. That is a rare form of power. And it is getting rarer because the modern world constantly trains people to live publicly. To show the meal, show the trip, show the achievement, show the body, show the relationship, show the purchase, show the transformation, show the proof. And there is nothing automatically wrong with sharing. The problem begins when sharing becomes necessary for the experience to feel real. If you cannot enjoy something until someone else sees it, you are not just living it. You are submitting it for approval. And that approval can become addictive. At first you share because you are happy. Then you are happy because people react. Then you start choosing things based on how they will be received. That is when the audience enters the room. Even when you are alone, you begin to ask, how will this look? Not, how will this feel? Not, does this fit my life? Not, does this support my future? How will this look? And when that question becomes dominant, your money starts serving optics. Optics are expensive. Peace is usually cheaper. That is a sentence worth remembering. Optics are expensive. Peace is usually cheaper. But peace does not always satisfy the ego. Peace does not always win the comparison. Peace does not always make people jealous. Peace does not always get compliments. And if you are still trying to be seen, peace may feel too quiet. This is why some people sabotage simple happiness. They call it boring. They call it settling. They call it lack of ambition. But sometimes, what they call boring is actually stable. Sometimes what they call ordinary is actually peaceful. Sometimes what they call modest is actually strategic. Sometimes what they call small is actually sustainable. And sometimes what they call impressive is just fragile. Fragility can wear expensive clothes. Fragility can drive a luxury car. Fragility can live in a beautiful home. Fragility can travel often. Fragility can post well. Fragility can look like success. But if one setback can destroy it, it is fragile. And the goal is not fragility with better lighting. The goal is resilience, a life that can bend without breaking. A life that can absorb shocks. A life that can keep going when the image is not being fed. A life that belongs to you when nobody is watching. So how do you actually build that? Not with one dramatic decision, with a set of quiet rules. The first rule is simple. When your income rises, do not let your lifestyle rise at the same speed. Let your freedom rise first. That means before you upgrade the visible parts of your life, strengthen the invisible parts. Build liquidity. Reduce bad debt. Invest consistently. Increase your skills. Protect your health. Create breathing room. Buy time. Buy options. Buy the ability to say no. Because if every raise becomes a new expense, your income can grow for 10 years, and your freedom can stay almost the same. You will look better, but you will still be dependent. The second rule is to stop using "I can afford it" as the final argument. I can afford it is not wisdom. It is only the first filter. The deeper question is, does this make my life stronger or heavier? Some things are affordable and still heavy. Some things fit your budget, but weaken your flexibility. Some things do not bankrupt you, but they reduce your future. Some things are not financially fatal, but they become psychological obligations. So ask better questions. Does this give me energy, or does it demand performance? Does this create freedom, or does it create maintenance? Does this serve my life or my image? Does this support my future, or only my ego today? The third rule is to build private victories. Not every win needs an announcement. Pay off something quietly. Save quietly. Invest quietly. Learn quietly. Improve quietly. Change quietly. There is a kind of strength that grows better without witnesses. Because when nobody is watching, the action becomes more honest. You are not doing it for applause. You are doing it because it is who you are becoming, and that matters. The fourth rule is to separate pleasure from proof. Enjoyment is healthy. Proof is expensive. Buy the thing if it genuinely improves your life. Take the trip if it means something to you. Celebrate if the celebration is real. Rest if you need rest. But be careful when the deepest reason is not the experience itself, but the story it will tell about you. Because if the story matters more than the experience, you may not be buying joy. You may be buying identity. And identity bought through consumption has to be repurchased constantly. The fifth rule is to make discretion normal. You do not need to tell everyone what you earn. You do not need to explain every financial move. You do not need to show every upgrade. You do not need to make your progress available for public opinion. This is not paranoia. It is protection. Information creates expectations. Expectations create pressure. Pressure creates bad decisions. And not everyone who knows more about your life will handle that information with maturity. Some people will compare. Some will resent. Some will ask. Some will assume. Some will calculate. Some will turn your progress into their entitlement. And some simply did not need to know. Discretion protects peace. The sixth rule is to measure wealth differently. Do not measure only what you can buy. Measure what you can refuse. Can you refuse unnecessary debt? Can you refuse a toxic opportunity? Can you refuse a lifestyle that does not fit your values? Can you refuse a purchase that only exists to impress? Can you refuse the pressure to keep up? Can you refuse the need to explain yourself? Because the ability to refuse is one of the clearest signs of freedom. A person with no margin cannot refuse much. They have to accept. They have to tolerate. They have to borrow. They have to please. They have to stay. They have to pretend. Margin gives you the power to refuse, and that power is worth more than many luxuries. The seventh rule is to remember that slow progress is still progress, especially when it reduces dependence. A little less debt, a little more liquidity, a slightly better skill, a more stable routine, a lower fixed cost, a stronger mind, a calmer reaction, a better decision under pressure. These things may not feel dramatic, but they compound, and when they compound, your life changes, not in one explosive moment, but in a way that becomes harder and harder to reverse. That is the kind of progress worth respecting, the kind that does not need constant validation, the kind that continues even when no one is impressed. Because if you can only stay disciplined when people notice, Your discipline belongs to the audience. But if you can stay disciplined when no one sees it, it belongs to you. And that is the point. To get your life back from the audience, to get your money back from your ego, to get your future back from your need to prove something, to stop letting old wounds create new bills, to stop letting comparison design your lifestyle, to stop confusing attention with freedom. Because attention is not freedom. Attention can become pressure. Attention can become expectation. Attention can become a performance you are afraid to stop. Freedom is different. Freedom is quieter. Freedom is being able to live without constantly defending the image. Freedom is being able to enjoy something without turning it into proof. Freedom is being able to have money without needing everyone to know. Freedom is being able to grow without making your growth a public event. Freedom is being able to look ordinary while becoming powerful. And yes, that last part is hard, because many people fear looking ordinary. They think ordinary means failure. But ordinary on the outside can hide extraordinary discipline. Ordinary on the outside can hide extraordinary patience. Ordinary on the outside can hide extraordinary options. And sometimes, the person who looks less impressive is the one who sleeps better, the one who has fewer obligations, the one who can walk away, the one who is not trapped by the cost of being admired. That is a different kind of status, a private status, not the kind that depends on being above other people. The kind that comes from not needing the comparison anymore. And when you reach even a small piece of that, something changes. You stop reacting to every symbol. You stop feeling attacked by someone else's success. You stop needing every purchase to say something. You stop turning your life into evidence. You begin to ask better questions. Not, will this impress people? But, will this strengthen me? Not, does this prove I'm doing well? But, does this make my life more mine? Not, will they notice? But, will I be freer? That shift is the beginning of real financial maturity. Because financial maturity is not just having money. It is being able to hold money without letting it become theater. It is being able to earn more without immediately needing to look richer. It is being able to enjoy life without destroying your margin. It is being able to be ambitious without becoming addicted to applause. It is being able to build a future that does not require constant external confirmation. And if this sounds simple, it is not. It is one of the hardest things to do in a world that sells identity through consumption. A world that teaches people to brand their lives. A world where private peace looks boring and public performance looks successful. A world where people are praised for appearing rich before they are rewarded for becoming free. But the people who understand this have an advantage. They move differently. They spend differently. They speak differently. They do not need to explain every decision. They do not need to turn every win into content. They do not need to prove they can afford things. They are not in a hurry to look rich because they are more interested in becoming free. And that is the separation. Some people want the evidence of success. Others want the consequences of freedom. Evidence is what people see. Consequences are what you live. Evidence is the car, the trip, the image, the story. Consequences are the calm, the margin, the options, the ability to choose. Evidence can impress strangers. Consequences change your daily life. And at the end, you have to decide which one matters more. Because if you keep using money to buy evidence, you will always need more evidence, more proof, more symbols, more upgrades, more reactions, more ways to show that you are not behind. But if you use money to buy freedom, every step gives you more of yourself back. Less fear, less pressure, less dependence, less performance, more space, more truth, more choice, more life. That is the kind of wealth that does not always announce itself, but you feel it. You feel it when something goes wrong and you do not panic. You feel it when someone pressures you and you do not collapse. You feel it when you can say no without fear. You feel it when you do not need to match someone else's lifestyle. You feel it when your life is not built on constant approval. You feel it when you realize that being underestimated is not always a problem. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it gives you space. Sometimes it lets you build without noise. Sometimes it keeps your ego from spending your future. And maybe that is the final uncomfortable truth. Some people do not really want financial freedom. They want financial visibility. They want the feeling of being seen as successful. They want the emotional reward of being recognized. They want the symbols before the structure. But symbols without structure are fragile, and visibility without freedom is just a prettier form of dependence. So choose carefully. Choose what your money is really building. Is it building a life that impresses people? Or a life that belongs to you? Is it buying applause? Or is it buying options? Is it feeding the version of you that still needs to prove something? Or is it protecting the version of you that wants peace? Because real freedom begins when your life no longer needs an audience. It begins when progress can be private and still feel real. It begins when you can enjoy without performing. It begins when you can build without announcing. It begins when you can have more without needing to look like more. It begins when you stop paying interest on old insecurity. And it begins when you understand this. The most powerful kind of success is not always the one people notice first. Sometimes the most powerful success is the one that quietly gives you your life back. So the question is not whether your life looks successful enough from the outside. The question is much harder. Is your money making you free, or is it only making you visible?